and flashbangs, and they moved these protesters, almost all of them, out of in front of the White House within 10 minutes. It raised questions of whether or not they were doing that because the president was about to speak in the Rose Garden, and now we're learning it's because the president wanted to come over to this church right here that is behind me. I'm going to step to the side so you can see St. John's Church right here. This is what part of it caught on fire last night, though the rector said today it could have been much worse than the damage they actually fared. You can't see a ton of damage from the front, though the back we are told the backside of it was on fire. But it's notable that the president is coming over here after they just moved all of these peaceful protesters out of the way. They had been chanting George Floyd's name, chanting that Black Lives Matter, but there had not been any acts of violence or aggression that we saw. And Aaron, the Secret Service just came up here where we are. You can see them. You can see the Secret Service is up here on the roof with us now of the Hay Adams Hotel. This is where we've been broadcasting live from. We did not have any heads up that the Secret Service was going to be coming up here. And now they're over here looking over the streets. And I want to note, right over here to my left, I am seeing there are mounted horses, and you can still see some protesters. To the right, you see the president and several officials, and of course, a massive security detail walking through the park. We're going to move our camera over a little. There is a helicopter flying overhead, two of them actually that we can see right now. And this is notable. I'm not sure the president has ever walked over from the White House to St. John's before. I believe the last time he came here, he was in a motorcade. And now you can see a ton of Secret Service and aides walking through the park as the president is making his way over to visit this church that was part of the fires last night.
All right, Caitlin, so, please stay with us here as we watch this. And everyone, you can see here, the camera's trying to catch up. The president doing this unprecedented moment in so many respects, breaking up peaceful protesters with flashbangs and rubber bullets, saying that he is going to invoke for the first time in more than 200 years an act allowing U.S. military deployment on U.S. shores against Americans. You see the president walking there. Jeffrey Toobin is with me on the phone. So Jeff, obviously, you see the president walking across to St. John's Episcopal Church, all of this massive security presence around him. This is an unprecedented moment.
It certainly is. And I think it's important when we talk about the president's authority to draw a distinction here. The president basically has carte blanche to bring the military into the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a state, and the president can bring in the military if he likes. It's a very different story in the 50 states. The act he's talking about, it has the name, the very evocative name of the Insurrection Act of 1807, and it says the president can bring in the military. However, it says it must be at the request of a state government. So I don't know exactly what their justification is if they think they can just send the military in to a state, because that is not prohibited, is not allowed. It's well established. There's another similarly old law called the Posse Comitatus Act, which says that the American military cannot be involved in law enforcement. The Insurrection Act is a kind of exception to that, but it is only at the request of a state government. And as far as I'm aware, no states, including, of course, Minnesota, have asked for the military to come in. So, so we'll have to see how that develops.
To your point, Jeffrey, and you just explained it so perfectly, it does explain his phrasing, right? He brought them into Washington. Looks like he may be about to speak here. We will watch that as a moment. But he did say that that every governor must deploy their full National Guard, and if they don't, he will deploy the U.S. military and quickly solve the problem for them. That's what he said. Now he's standing there looking around after what was, frankly, a pretty undignified approach to St. John's Episcopal Church, looking he's holding up a Bible, walking by some graffiti saying "No Justice, No Peace" and FTP, which people can figure out what that stands for. Holding up a Bible.
We have a great country. That's my thoughts. This country in the world. Great. It won't take long. It's not going to take long. You see what's going on. It's coming back. It's coming back strong. It'll be greater than ever before.
congratulations to the president as he is there across the street, as we said, with his staff, massive security detail holding up a Bible. I'm just listening here along with everyone else, just to pause here for a moment of the president setting up this photo op for himself, dispersing peaceful protesters to do so in front of a boarded up church, which had that fire due to the protests last evening. You can see him standing there. I think it's important just to talk about the image. He sees this as his big photo. You saw him sort of, caring about the moment and the photo. Now bringing everybody in here for his photo op. That's what this is all about for him. It's Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. As he does this, and I will, Bill Barr, the Attorney General, who we saw coming in, we're going to continue to monitor this and listen. While we do that, I'm going to bring in the governor